When I first heard that there was a sequel to the first Mortal Kombat film coming to theaters, you could not believe how excited I was. Rumors were off the walls with so many speculations on what to expect, since the 1995 film is what I considered a classic, or perhaps a masterpiece in its own way. My friends and I would be hanging out talking for a good few hours on which characters would appear from the games that we haven't seen yet. What realms would they enter, let alone, when the trailer came out, all these assumptions regarding its storyline and fight scenes. Little did I know, like the cover says, I didn't figure them to be foreshadowing exactly what we all had in mind, and that's to destroy all expectations, and that couldn't be any more true. Mortal Kombat Annihilation was released in 1997, and it is the direct sequel to the 1995 Mortal Kombat film. Now look, I can really dive deep and practically annihilate this movie into pieces from its terrible dialogues, inconsistent plots, and terrible character development. However, I want to take you back to 1997 and share what I really liked and enjoyed about this movie. Because yes, it is a bad film and probably one of the worst in Mortal Kombat history, especially watching it as an adult. But as a kid, it held a certain charm to it and was badass in its own way. After the events of the first film, Shao Kahn enters before the end credits and is ready to cause chaos on Earthrealm, and this movie picks up right where it left off, except instead of looking ruthless, he now looks like a jackass, and we get some new actors and kill off a popular one. But that doesn't take away from the fact that I still hated Johnny Cage, so I wasn't too bummed about it. But I will admit, the opening scene where we get introduced to characters like my favorite ninja Raiden, Ermac, Sheeva, Motaro, and Sindel, all within the first 5 minutes is a lot to take in, but holy shit was that awesome to see. Shao Kahn informs the Earthrealm warriors that they only have 6 days to prepare for the invasion from Outworld, and well, that's about it. So throughout the movie, the Earthrealm warriors mourn the loss of Johnny Cage, get introduced to new allies. Liu Kang is on a quest to find Kitana, whom was kidnapped earlier for trying to save her mother Sindel. Sonya Blade is on a mission to rescue Jax, and Raiden gets a haircut. One thing I will say is that the music is still pretty good and the strobe light effects increased by 50. There's tons of action scenes, top-notch choreography from the martial artists, and overall, just a fun watch despite its flaws. As the story progresses, we continue to get introduced to more Mortal Kombat characters from Mortal Kombat 2 and 3. And I wished we saw more Nightwolf, but too bad he barely had any screen time. And the fight scene with Sub-Zero and Scorpion was cool, but was strictly for fan service, as nothing was explored after that. Sheeva also looked awesome, but they cut all her fight scenes down for a cheap death. Liu Kang vs Smoke was a huge highlight, as well as Jax vs Cyrax. Sonya Blade vs Mileena was a mud wrestling match to please horny men. Jade vs Liu Kang was brief, although he did cheat on Kitana with her, and Raiden vs the 3 reptiles or raptors or chameleons offered nothing. However, we do get one of the best dialogues to date, and that's when Raiden tells Shao Kahn that 2 of Earth's greatest, and I repeat, greatest warriors, Stryker and Cabal, have been kidnapped. It's no wonder Shao Kahn hammered his ass into the flames for that statement, cause I would too. However, if I remember back then, my best friend and I lost our shits because a simple name drop was enough to get us excited and expanded our minds of numerous possibilities. Now, there's one thing that I do want to discuss, and that's finding out that Shao Kahn and Raiden are brothers, and their father is none other than Shinnok. Even as a kid, I knew that statement fell off and had to yell at the TV for not even paying attention to the source material. I mean, come on. Nonetheless, I was bummed that the costumes did take a backseat compared to the first on-screen appearances, as they looked okay but cheap on a budget, especially for the ninjas. But hey, at least Cyrax and Robot Smoke looked amazing, because others like Baraka and Shao Kahn just had rubber masks. And as for Shinnok, well, I don't have to explain that one. We do, however, get an awesome end battle scene where the remaining Earthrealm combatants face the remaining Outworld warriors, and aside from seeing badass Motaro in action, Shao Kahn stopping a mudhole on Liu Kang, and Noob Saibot coming out of Ermac, which made absolutely no sense, this movie takes a turn by adding animalities and a big kaiju CGI fight, which is something you have to watch on your own. But in any case, the Earthrealm warriors end up in victory, Raiden dies because he disgraced himself to the Elder Gods who hated his haircut, and the movie concludes with everyone giving each other a high five and abruptly ending the film, like it knew it wanted to get this over with. So here's the thing, this review doesn't remotely come close to everything I want to say in terms of all the things this movie does wrong. However, the essence is looking back and remembering the hype my friends and I had of this film and all the conversations leading up to its release. Sure, it didn't leave a big impact like the first film, and we left the theaters feeling a little disappointed or underwhelmed, but even in 1997, the sleepovers were just as magical. My best friend and I continued to kick each other's asses pretending to be iconic Mortal Kombat characters. The techno music and darker tones created a vibe we wished we held onto forever, because as the years continued, there were rumors and speculations of a Mortal Kombat 3 film in development, but it never came to exist. This storyline would have involved Quan Chi, as there was images and behind the scenes of this character's costume and appearance that was supposedly cut with an end credit scene, but I guess we'll never see it now. The thing that I'll always cherish is not the movie's lack of commitment to leave an impact, but knowing that this was the last movie that my best friend and I had with that special Mortal Kombat spark. We were slowly growing up, slowly drifting apart, and oftentimes grew distant due to life's twists and turns and didn't quite share the love of Mortal Kombat like we used to. Although today we're still best friends and remained as close as ever, but oftentimes I tend to pick up this VHS and think back when life was simple. You know, those days when we popped this sucker in the VCR and dimmed the lights for an ambiance mood. When sleepovers were about Mortal Kombat movie nights, playing Mortal Kombat games, and drawing Mortal Kombat comics. It pains me knowing that those days are gone and it'll never be the same no matter how many adaptations they have today. But one thing is for sure, every time I watch this movie, I don't look at it for its flaws. I reminisce to a magical time of happiness and my youth. Because this movie really isn't that bad. You just have to enjoy it for what it is and prepare yourself for a journey that you never wanted to end. Let me know in the comments below what you think about Mortal Kombat Annihilation, and I'll talk to you all next episode.